Announcing Mobilizing Social Media for Social Good and Brand Power with Mido DeSanti, founder and CEO, Pixhug, and Variety's Andrew Wallenstein.
Thank you. Mido, thanks for joining us today to talk about a really interesting venture in Pixhug, which Mido's going to help us get into, but just so you understand the broad strokes, Pixhug is a social philanthropy app that amplifies fundraising efforts on behalf of consumers, charities, and of course brands. Does it in a really fascinating way on social platforms. So, walk us through how this works.
So we built Pixhug really to empower individuals that want to drive change in the world, but didn't necessarily have the means. But to do that, we wanted to do something that's very simple. We didn't want to reinvent social media. I think Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, these guys are great at what they do. What we wanted to do is to add purpose in those user engagements. To do that, we had to keep things really, really simple. But what we decided to use as a vehicle for social good were photographs. And in Pixhug, we talk often about that old saying that a picture tells 1,000 words, is worth 1,000 words. But why not be 1,000 blankets or 1,000 meals? And that's exactly what happens when someone posts a photograph through Pixhug. When one logs into our app, and it's right now available on iOS and in 5 to 6 weeks on Android, or you have all these campaigns that are currently running, and you can pick one of the causes that you wish to support. You log in with Facebook, and you post a photograph, and that's all it takes. That photograph takes a life of its own in a way because we collect those likes. We pair them with 10 cents from a corporate sponsor, and you just see the money roll in and how you can benefit that charity without actually spending any of your money.
So each like represents sort of like a converted currency for charity.
Correct. Each like is actual tangible donation.
Right. I mean, I think prior to hearing about Pixhug, my only idea of how social and charity came together was something like Ice Bucket Challenge. How did you guys come up with this? Give us the origin story here.
Well, I think there were a couple of things that came together. I mean, on one end, we saw billions of likes that are happening every day on Facebook, and we wanted to see how can we add a little bit of purpose or meaning behind those likes. At the same time, we looked at brands that give over $20 billion every single year and get very little visibility for it. And on the third end, you look at charities and still the lack of transparency and how much do we know about a charitable work and how the money is being utilized. And so we wanted to put everything together, and we built Pixhug that kind of brings transparency on one end, empowers people to be the vehicle behind the donations, and brands to achieve greater visibility. Because for a $1,000 donation, they reach 10,000 people since it's 10 cents per like.
Got it. Let's talk a bit about what we've got up on the screen here with Cameron
that's a fantastic example. So we launched only 3 weeks ago, right? And the Power of Young Hollywood went with Variety. We had some of the youngest stars and influencers, digital influencers like Jaden Smith, like Bethany Moda, and Cameron Dallas here. And he chose Make-A-Wish Foundation here in LA. And his one post generated 35,000 reactions. So 35,000 people within hours reacted to his post and knew about both the donation that Variety has done and the actual work that Make-A-Wish does in Los Angeles. I think we were ourselves actually quite surprised that what happened when these fans all of a sudden became engaged and they became a part of this journey more than just spectators. They were part of it. It was because of them that they actually achieved this donation. And the visibility that both entities got was tremendous. I mean, within a few hours, $3,500 donated.
It is tremendous, and this is for a great cause, but I'm also curious about the monetization here. What do you guys as a company, how do you make your money?
Well, one of the first things that we all said in the company was we did not want to take a cut from the charities. We want to amplify how they utilize the money, right? So that's our goal on that end. But how Pixhug is a business or a social business is we wanted to look for value that we can add to the brand. And through the visibility that we give them, we're able to charge a marketing fee that never exceeds 10% of the actual donation.
Okay. So we've got this Cameron Dallas example. Can you give us some more ideas of charities, brands, individuals that have been using this?
Yeah, we have this fantastic partnership with the White Feather Foundation that was founded by Julian Lennon several years ago, and the ability to, because when you look at Julian Lennon, who has been out of the spotlight for many years and has focused really more on his photography and on the foundation's work, his foundation has been able to raise thousands of dollars as well within days. It reached so much more people that he hasn't been able to reach out to. He's reaching a different demographic now, because our average, or like over 70% of our users are between 18 and 27, right? And that's really was out of his demographic. And now we have campaigns that are in Burkina Faso. We have a fantastic project in Ethiopia for girls' education. And we constantly have these campaigns that keep updating, so every week we add new ones. And one of the cool things that we're looking into is when you have natural disasters and something that nobody expects to see, we want to be able to be the first go-to app that you can help and bring results and bring aid to certain areas that need it quickly.
So that's something you intend to do, or you've already tried?
That's what we're working right now, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think, I mean, hopefully no natural disasters happen, but I think that's how it is, and I think within 5 weeks we'll be ready to support them.
So you're out now for several weeks. I'm curious, how do you see the Pixhug product evolving? Will it go to different platforms, work in different ways?
Yeah, so right now we work with Facebook, and we're working with Twitter integration soon as well. But one of the things that we identified was the great inefficiency that charities have in their communication, the lack of transparency. So we wanted to build a tool for them, sort of a KPI dashboard, because we collect so much data as it is, that we wanted to give them that so they can measure in real time how the actual donation is flowing, who they're communicating, who they where it's efficient to communicate, which demographic, which maybe it's less efficient. They can monitor their donor growth, etc. And we built that as a subscription model as well. So to go back to your question regarding our monetization, that's also sort of a second revenue stream for us, as well as a SaaS platform, where for $40 a month they have access to a fantastic tool that actually increases their efficiency.
How do you guys go about getting more campaigns? Are you interfacing with charities and brands, or are you just working one side of it? How does that work?
What happened, we talked to everyone, right? But what was interesting to see that charities also, in many cases, have established relationships with a lot of companies. And so now they're actually pitching Pixhug to them, so they work almost as our sales team in many ways, because they add so much more value. It doesn't cost them anything to do so, but it attracts more donations from those corporate sponsors.
I'm just curious, goals-wise, in terms of whether it's a volume of campaigns or a benchmark in terms of the number of likes. Do you have goals like that in terms of where you want to see Pixhug grow?
Well, if we look at $20 billion, as I mentioned, donated every year, that only accounts for 5% of donations in the United States, right? It's a market that's $450 billion big. Our goal is to, in the next 12 months, to conquer 10% of the corporate donation market, right? So that would mean $2 billion that flow through Pixhug. The more altruistic goal is, because yes, we started a business, and this is, it's a social enterprise, as I call it, but really on the other end, it's a movement that enables and empowers people to do good. Mm-hmm. And when I speak of an altruistic motivation, it is in fact, if we can see online behavior that where people are able to just do good for the sake of doing good, when you disassociate that individual ask, because we're not asking them to make donations, maybe and hopefully that behavior translates into offline behavior, who we are as a society.
So in other words, you think when you say offline that you'll see a benefit for more actual donations?
Correct, yeah. So it actually translates into, it might not even necessarily have to be financial donations. It could be volunteering, right?
Right. Well, is it possible that Pixhug could grow to a place where it could facilitate financial donations, facilitate offline volunteering. Is that something you're even thinking about?
Yes, in fact, yeah. One of the things that we're working as well to embed a donate button, but not on Pixhug, because we always want to stay free for our users. But by building a donate button for charities to embed into their websites, we're able to collect even further data for them to help them with their KPIs and to really measure how their fundraising goes.
And one last question. Is Pixhug meant to be a brand that consumers will identify, or it's just simply, you know, behind the scenes for brands and charities?
The mission really is to build more of a movement that people can identify with. Because what's fantastic in response and what users are, what we see them do, is they have this ability to talk to a brand in a different way. They're inviting a brand into their life when they have a goal to build a hospital in Kenya, for example, and now you're inviting a company that's sponsoring your project in a way. So it's a very different dynamic and very different relationship of how a brand communicates and builds a relationship with their users and with their customers.
Got it. Well, sounds like a great cause and very interesting technology. So thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's really exciting.
Cool.
It's a great journey. Thank you so much. Thank you.